Here at the shop, we see all sorts of things come through the door. Gold, silver, you name it. But when a truly ancient coin comes in, that's something special. It makes you think, where did this all start? Well, the story of coins, the kind of money we still use today, kicks off way back in ancient Greece. Before coins, people bartered. You'd trade your goats for some grain, or maybe some pottery for a new tool. It worked, but it wasn't always easy. Imagine trying to figure out how many chickens a new chariot is worth. It gets complicated, fast. So, around the 7th century BC, some really smart people in a kingdom called Lydia, in what is now modern-day Turkey, had a brilliant idea. The Lydians were neighbors and close partners with the Ionian Greeks. They started taking lumps of a natural gold and silver mix called electrum, stamping them with an official mark and giving them a set value. These weren't quite coins as we know them, more like standardized little ingots. But it was a revolutionary idea. For the first time, you had a piece of metal that everyone agreed was worth a certain amount. You didn't have to weigh it every single time you made a deal. This idea caught on like wildfire across the Greek world. City-states like Aegina, a little island near Athens, started making their own coins. Aegina's coins were famous for having a sea turtle stamped on them. Why a turtle? Because they were a big sea trading power. It was like their brand, their logo. Suddenly, trade became so much easier. A merchant from one city could travel to another, and his money was good there. It was a total game changer, and it laid the foundation for economies, for empires, and for the incredible history of money itself. From those first lumpy electrum pieces to the beautiful silver coins that followed, this was one of the most important inventions in human history. It's right up there with writing and the wheel. It allowed societies to grow in ways they never could before. It funded armies, built temples, and paid for the very first philosophers. Every time I hold an ancient Greek coin, I think about that. This little piece of metal isn't just money, it's the start of an idea that literally changed the world. And that, to me, is priceless. When you're dealing with history, you learn pretty quick that things are never just one thing. A sword isn't just a weapon, it's a symbol of a knight. A crown isn't just a hat, it's a symbol of a king. It was the exact same thing with coins in ancient Greece. They were way more than just a convenient way to buy a loaf of bread or a jug of wine. These coins were pocket-sized billboards. They were a way for a city-state to shout to the world, "We are here, we are powerful, and we matter." It was all about civic pride and propaganda. Think about it. Back then, there was no internet, no TV, no newspapers. How did a ruler or a city get its message out? One of the best ways was on their coinage. A coin could travel hundreds of miles in a merchant's pouch. When someone in Egypt or Persia saw a coin from Athens, they saw the owl, the symbol of the goddess Athena. They were looking at a tiny piece of Athenian power and influence. It told them that Athens was rich enough to mine the silver, skilled enough to mint the coin, and powerful enough to make other people accept it as payment. This is why the designs were so important. Each city chose a symbol that represented its identity. Corinth had Pegasus, the winged horse. Thebes had a distinctive Boeotian shield. It was like a team logo for your favorite sports team, but with much higher stakes. If your city's coins were widely trusted and accepted, it meant your city was a major player on the world stage. It was a sign of economic stability and military might. Rulers would put their own portraits on coins to show everyone who was in charge. It was the ultimate power move. So when we look at these coins, we're not just looking at currency. We are looking at art, at politics, and at propaganda all rolled into one. They tell the story of rivalries between cities, of wars won and lost, and of empires rising and falling. A single coin can be a window into the pride of a city like Syracuse, which made some of the most beautiful coins ever to celebrate their victory over Athens. They are tangible pieces of history that tell a story far bigger than their monetary value. That's what makes them so fascinating to a history guy like me. You see a lot of modern coins, and they're all perfectly round, identical, and machine-made. But in the ancient world, making a coin was a real craft. It was hot, loud, and physically demanding work. It all started with the metal, usually silver, gold, or bronze. This metal would be melted down in a crucible over a blazing hot furnace. The goal was to get it pure and molten. Then, they had to create the blank discs that would become the coins. These blanks were called flans. Sometimes they were cast in molds, making them roughly the right size and weight. Once you had your flan, it was time for the strike. This is where the magic happens. The process used two dies. The bottom die, called the anvil die, was usually set firmly into a block of wood or a workbench. It had the design for one side of the coin carved into it, in reverse. The top die, or the punch die, was a handheld metal punch with the design for the other side carved into its tip. A worker would place a heated flan on the anvil die, position the punch die on top of it, and then, bam! Another worker would hit the punch with a massive hammer. This single powerful strike was what squeezed the metal into the carved designs of both dies, creating the coin. Because the flans weren't always perfectly centered, and the hammer strike wasn't always perfectly even, ancient coins have a lot of character. They are often a little off-center, the thickness can vary, and the details might be stronger on one side than the other. No two are ever exactly alike. This handcrafted nature is part of their charm. It's a reminder that a real person, over 2,000 years ago, made this object with their own hands. The guys who carved the dies, the engravers, were the real artists here. Some of them were incredibly skilled, creating miniature masterpieces of sculpture that are just breathtaking to look at, even today. On the most beautiful coins, like those from Syracuse, the engravers were so proud of their work that they would sometimes hide their tiny signatures in the design. Finding one of those is like finding a signed Picasso. It tells you that these weren't just moneymakers, they were true artists pouring their soul into their work. The designs on Greek coins are what really capture the imagination. These weren't just random pictures. Every image was chosen for a reason and was packed with meaning. They tell you everything about what the ancient Greeks valued: their gods, their myths, their cities, and their connection to nature. Early on, many coins featured animals. You had the turtle of Aegina, the lion of Lydia, and the bee of Ephesus. These were often symbols of a local god, or the source of the city's wealth. The turtle represented sea trade, and the lion represented strength and royalty. As the art of coin making evolved, the designs became much more sophisticated. The gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus became the superstars of the numismatic world. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare, was a favorite, especially for the city of Athens. You'd see her portrait on the front, or obverse, of the coin. On the back, or reverse, you'd often find an animal or object associated with that god. For Athena, it was the owl, a symbol of wisdom. For Zeus, it was the eagle. For Poseidon, the trident. These weren't just static portraits either. The artists used the small, circular space of the coin to tell stories from mythology. You might see Hercules wrestling the Nemean lion, or the hero Bellerophon riding the winged horse Pegasus. These images connected the city to the great epic tales that every Greek grew up with. It was a shared culture that everyone understood. It reinforced their identity and their beliefs. A coin was a daily reminder of the myths and legends that formed the very fabric of their society. The level of detail they achieved is just mind-boggling. On a coin the size of a modern quarter, you can see the individual strands of hair on a goddess, the feathers on an eagle's wing, or the muscles on a hero's body. The artists understood perspective, anatomy, and how to create a sense of movement and drama in a very small space. These coins are rightly considered some of the greatest works of art from the ancient world. They are miniature sculptures that have survived for millennia, and they are as impressive today as they were the day they were made. If you're going to talk about famous Greek coins, you have to start with the big one, the Athenian owl. This is probably the most recognized ancient coin in the world. For about 400 years, the city of Athens minted these silver coins, called tetradrachms. On the front, you have a portrait of their patron goddess, Athena, wearing a crested helmet. On the back, you have her sacred bird, the owl, with its big, staring eyes. There's also an olive sprig, symbolizing the olive oil that was a huge source of Athens' wealth, and the letters Athene, short for of the Athenians. These owl coins were the US dollar of their day. They were made from silver from the nearby mines at Laurion, and they were known everywhere for their high purity and consistent weight. Merchants from Spain to India trusted them. Having a pouch full of Athenian owls meant you were in business. The design stayed almost the same for centuries. The early ones have a more archaic, stylized look, while the later ones are more refined. But the basic formula, Athena on the front, owl on the back, never changed. It was a brand that screamed reliability and power. Then comes the other giant of the ancient world, Alexander the Great. When he conquered most of the known world in the 4th century BC, he needed a coin to match his empire. He created a standardized currency that was used from Greece all the way to the borders of India. On the front of his silver tetradrachms, you see the head of the hero Heracles, or Hercules, wearing the skin of the Nemean lion. Many experts believe the face of Heracles was actually modeled to look like Alexander himself, a clever way to put his own face on the money without breaking tradition. On the back of Alexander's coins, you have the god Zeus seated on his throne, holding an eagle and a scepter. The inscription reads Alexandrou, which means of Alexander. These coins were minted in massive quantities across dozens of different mints throughout his enormous empire. For centuries after his death, his successors kept minting coins with his name and designs because they were so trusted and famous. When you hold an Alexander the Great coin, you are holding a piece of one of the greatest military and historical sagas of all time. It's absolutely incredible. It's a miracle, really, when you think about it. How does a small metal disc, made 2,500 years ago, survive to today? These coins were used. They were handled, traded, dropped, and spent every single day. A lot of them simply wore out from circulation, their designs rubbed smooth over centuries of use. Others were melted down. When a new ruler came to power, it was common practice to recall the old coins, melt them, and restrike them with the new king's image. It was a way of erasing the past and stamping your own authority on the economy. War was another great destroyer of coins. When cities were sacked and burned, treasuries were looted, and huge amounts of wealth in the form of coins could be melted down to pay for soldiers, or just be carried off as plunder. The metal itself was always valuable, regardless of the face stamped on it. So, for a coin to survive, it had to be taken out of circulation somehow. It had to be lost, or it had to be hidden. And thankfully for history and for collectors, people in the ancient world hid their money all the time. There were no banks like we have today. If you had some savings, you couldn't just open a checking account. Your best bet was to put your coins in a clay pot and bury it in the backyard, or hide it in a wall. People did this for all sorts of reasons. Maybe a soldier was going off to war and wanted his family's savings to be safe. Or maybe a merchant was hiding his profits from the tax collector. Or, in times of crisis, like when an enemy army was approaching, entire communities would bury their wealth, hoping to come back for it later. Sometimes, the people who buried their treasure never came back. They might have been killed in the war, or died of a plague, or simply forgot where they buried it. And so, the pot of coins stayed in the ground, waiting. For centuries, for millennia, it sat there, undisturbed. The earth acted as a natural vault, protecting the coins from wear and from being melted down. This is how the vast majority of the beautiful, high-quality ancient coins we have today survived. They are the lost savings of the ancient world, unearthed. Discovering a hoard of ancient coins is the dream of every archaeologist and treasure hunter. These finds are our single greatest source of ancient coins. A hoard can be anything from a few coins in a small pot to thousands of coins in a massive chest. Sometimes they are found by accident. A farmer plowing his field might hit a clay jar with his plow. A construction crew digging a foundation for a new building might unearth a buried treasure. These accidental discoveries happen all the time, all across the lands that were once part of the Greek world. When a hoard is discovered, it's like opening a time capsule. For a numismatist, that's a fancy word for a coin expert, it provides a ton of information. Because all the coins were buried at the same time, you can learn a lot by studying them together. For example, if the newest coin in the hoard was minted in 323 BC, the year Alexander the Great died, it tells you the hoard was likely buried during the chaotic wars that followed his death. It gives you a snapshot of what types of coins were circulating together at a specific moment in history. Some hoards are legendary. In the 1970s, a massive hoard was discovered in the country of Jordan, containing thousands of silver coins from the time of Alexander the Great. It completely changed what we knew about the mints operating in that region. Other hoards might contain coins from dozens of different cities, showing the trade routes that connected the ancient world. You might find coins from Athens, Corinth, and Sicily, all together in one pot, buried in what is now Turkey. It's a physical map of ancient commerce. Once these coins are discovered, they are carefully cleaned and studied by experts. Often, the government of the country where they are found will claim the most important pieces for its national museum. But hoards can be so large that many of the coins are eventually sold on the open market. This is how they make their way into the hands of dealers and private collectors. Each coin from a known hoard comes with an amazing story, a direct link back to that moment in time when someone, for reasons we can only guess, decided to bury their fortune in the ground. So, why do people get so passionate about collecting these little pieces of metal? Here at the shop, I can tell you it's about a lot more than just the gold or silver content. For most collectors, it's about holding history in your hand. This isn't a replica or a picture in a book. This is the real deal. An actual object that was made, held, and spent by someone who lived thousands of years ago. It's a tangible connection to the past, to the world of Socrates, Aristotle, and Alexander the Great. You can't put a price on that feeling. Of course, value is a big part of it. The price of a Greek coin can range from $50 for a common bronze coin in rough shape to over $1 million for a super rare and beautiful masterpiece. What makes one so valuable? It comes down to the big three: rarity, condition, and artistic beauty. Rarity is simple supply and demand. If only a handful of a certain coin are known to exist, collectors will pay a fortune to own one. Condition is key. A coin that looks like it just came from the mint, with sharp details and no damage, is called mint state, and is worth many times more than one that is worn and corroded. But with Greek coins, there's a third factor that you don't always see with other collectibles: the wow factor of the art. A coin with a breathtakingly beautiful design by a master engraver will always be in high demand. The Decadrachms of Syracuse, for example, are large, heavy silver coins that are considered the pinnacle of coin art. They are so sought after that even examples in less than perfect condition can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. People are buying a miniature work of art as much as they are buying a coin. The thrill of the hunt is also a huge part of the appeal. Collectors love searching for that one special coin to complete a set, or finding a rare variety that no one else has. The community is full of passionate people who love to research the history behind their coins and share their knowledge. It's a hobby that combines a love of history, an appreciation for art, and the excitement of collecting. It's a puzzle, a history lesson, and an investment all in one. You never know what you're going to find, and that's half the fun. The journey of Greek coins is really the story of Western civilization in miniature. It all started with a simple, practical idea to make trade easier, but it quickly grew into so much more. These coins became expressions of identity, tools of propaganda, and canvases for some of the most beautiful art of the ancient world. They funded the growth of democracy in Athens. They paid the armies of Alexander the Great as he forged an empire, and they spread Greek culture and ideas across the map. The traditions started by the Greeks have echoed through the ages. The idea of putting a ruler's portrait on a coin? That was popularized by the Greeks and their successors. The Romans copied it, medieval kings copied it, and we still do it today. Look at a United States quarter. You've got George Washington on the front and an eagle on the back. It's a direct descendant of the Greek model, a leader on one side, a symbol of national power on the other. The basic language of coinage that the Greeks invented is still with us. Today, the interest in these ancient treasures is stronger than ever. Museums display them as priceless artifacts. Historians study them for clues about the ancient economy and political landscape. And collectors, from seasoned experts to curious beginners, cherish them as links to a distant and fascinating past. Each coin has its own unique story. A story of the mine where its silver was dug, the artist who carved its die, the merchant who spent it, and the person who buried it for safekeeping. In the end, that's the magic of a Greek coin. It's not just an object, it's a survivor. It has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, and it has passed through countless hands over thousands of years to end up in yours. It's a whisper from the ancient world, and holding one is the closest you can get to reaching back and touching history. And believe me, there's nothing cooler than that. You never know what's going to come through that door, but a piece of history like this is always a welcome sight.